This show has been brought to you by Smith's Detection and the National Air Traffic Controllers Association.
My voice is the voice that guides you home safely each and every day.
24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
I am the voice of the safest and most efficient airspace in the world.
I have to be 100% of the time.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I am a professional air traffic controller.
Hi, I'm Melissa Sabatine. Welcome to another edition of One-on-One. Today, my guest in the studio is Eduardo Angeles. He is the new Associate Administrator for Airports at the FAA. Hi, Eddie.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. It's your first time to the AAAE studios. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor to actually be here, and thank you to AAAE for giving me the opportunity to address your audience.
Well, you've been on the job since July, correct?
Since June.
June,
yes.
That's right. So you were appointed in May by the administrator, and then you took office in June, and one of your first things was to come to a AAAE conference in Atlanta. So thank you for that. You've been doing a lot of travel, coming to a lot of our conferences, and getting a chance to meet a lot of our members. But for those who haven't had the opportunity and the pleasure of meeting you yet, can you just give us a quick background about where you came from? And I know you've worked in airports and done a lot of other great things.
Right. Well, I'm certainly new to the FAA in terms of Washington, D.C. and at headquarters, but I'm not new to the aviation industry and more specifically airport management. I started my career, I'm a lawyer by training, so started my career at the San Francisco City Attorney's Office and worked my way up, including 8 years STET at San Francisco International Airport, SFO. So I really learned the foundation of my knowledge in airport management from industry leaders such as Lou Turpin and Angela Gittins and of course John Martin, the airport director currently at SFO. And then from then on in, had the opportunity to move from San Francisco to Los Angeles and worked as the General Counsel for LAWA, for Los Angeles World Airports. And then again, having the opportunity to work with great industry leaders like Lydia Kennard and Kim Day, and certainly Gina Marie Lindsay, and having have the great opportunity to work on various issues, from master plan issues all the way from constructions. And I'd worked actually on a lot of compliance issues as the lawyer for the airports, usually challenging the FAA on some of the findings that they would make. But I did operations, security, I did a variety of things in terms of ground transportation, landside, airside. So I know the business quite well in terms of the actual airport management side of the world. Excited to be in Washington, D.C. and certainly now working for the FAA.
Well, we're lucky to have you, and now you, instead of compliance, you have that in your portfolio, but also you get to give people money. So
yes.
A really great thing,
yes.
too. Now, you're coming to D.C. at a really unique time. It's towards the end of the administration, second term. Kind of what were your expectations coming in, 2.5 years accepting this position? Well,
let me first of all say that it was a true honor to get this appointment. To work under Secretary Fox and Administrator Michael Huerta is an honor and really a pinnacle of my career. And to be in Washington, D.C. in this administration is a real fantastic opportunity to just be in this time, in this moment in Washington. So in terms of my expectations, I really didn't have too many expectations because in reality I was just excited to have the opportunity to work for this administration. But as indicated, this is my first STET at the FAA, so I knew that I had quite a bit of a learning curve. Certainly, I like to say that I've been practicing law for over 22 years before getting this job, and now I'm not practicing law because I finally got it right. So I'm getting the chance to actually be on the policy side and set the policies for the country in terms of airports, and learning the ins and outs of the federal system. So the expectations that I have all been met. The one thing that I am really honored to have is the opportunity to work with the fine personnel of the FAA, these are just tremendous professionals from headquarters all the way down to the regions. I find that these are dedicated employees who really believe and firmly love what they do for a living and have decided to dedicate their careers and lives to the federal government. And I'm honored to work, you know, shoulder to shoulder with those folks, and their professionalism is beyond belief with respect to certainly the honor that I've had to work with them.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. You have a really great staff, and thank you for all the folks here at headquarters and in the regional offices. So when you came in, and did you give any direction to your staff about what your initiatives you wanted them to be, or kind of what your goals were coming in?
Well, I mean, I think I'm coming, as you said, in a unique time, certainly in the FAA, certainly in the federal government. I liken it to say that I certainly have, you know, 27 months as it relates to the administration, and there's a lot of things and initiatives that's already started by my predecessors. The administration has been in for a period of time, and there's some great programs that they've already initiated. And I think the task that I have was to evaluate, you know, sort of where we're at and then where I would like to take them. And to, as people like to say, you know, you didn't start the game necessarily, but people count who finished the game in terms of what the score is at the end. So my initiatives and goal is to complete a lot of the things that, that were initiated by my predecessors, number one. And then if there is an opportunity to initiate some new direction. So let me go through that a little bit. Number one is certainly we just initiated and basically put out on September 30th the AIP handbook. So that is one check mark that folks have been talking about of putting out. So I encourage your viewers to certainly take a look at the FAA website to review that and engage us in terms of questions on those issues. I'd like the opportunity to also then talk about the 4 initiatives that the administrator actually laid out in February of 2014. You know, and when the administrator wanted to say, you know, make aviation safer and smarter was one of his initiatives, deliver benefits to technology and infrastructure, enhance global leadership, empower and innovate with the FAA's people. So within those 4 initiatives, I've directed staff to how it is that we can best serve and really complete some of those goals that the administrator has put forth. And when it comes to safer and smarter, the RSA, the completion of those is coming up in 2015. I want to thank again the members who have made that possible to get it to the finish line. Hopefully by December of 2015 they'll all be completed, the most practicable way that we can do the RSA. Then the next one is in terms of safer and security, safer and smarter, is to take a look at sort of problematic runway geometry. That's a project that we'd like to take a look at that's more long-term. What we find is that when we did a safety study, that there were really 3 initiatives, 3 areas from which accidents occur: incursions, excursions, and wildlife. And we've addressed the, you know, sort of excursion aspect of that. The incursion is what we'd like to focus on, and we'd like to embark upon looking at the problematic geometry on terms of runway configuration around the country and begin to dedicate some monies in terms of trying to fix those problematic areas. So those are some of the sort of, you know, dabble into some of the initiatives. Clearly the FAA's people in hiring and making sure that we have the right leadership for successions at the FAA, and looking at it from the perspective that really any organization is really built upon the personnel and the people. So I want to make sure that the right people are placed in key roles and key places for the future of the FAA.
I know a big part of that has been the internal management effort that's been ongoing, that you are now in the process of completing, which has to deal with the regional offices. Yes. Obviously, you and your staff from headquarters can't be everywhere at the same time, so you have wonderful regional offices, airport district offices, who are the first line of communication, really, with our airport members. And there's been something called Geo Balancing. It's been an effort that your office has been undertaking to kind of make things consistent and make sure the resources are where they should be. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, you know, we wanted to make sure that the Office of Airports was balanced in a way that best services the regional offices at the local level. And like I said, I encourage all of those viewers of yours to really work with our local personnel on their various issues, because they're the boots on the ground that could really help them and solve a lot of the issues that they may have. So having said that, we wanted to embark upon making sure that there's a balance with respect to services. So we've done some moving around of offices around the country, and I think graphically it's demonstrated in terms of what some of the previous offices looks like and what we would like for them to look at. Now, some of the maps indicate that they're existing, but those changes might have already occurred for your region.
So it's a process.
It's a process,
right.
And making sure that we have the right personnel in the right place reporting to the right people. And I think it's for the purpose of efficiency, effectiveness, and making sure that we service all of the needs of the sponsors.
Yes, well, thank you for that. Now, another unique aspect of your job that you're going to have to tackle, of course, is FAA Reauthorization. It's that time again where we're all thinking about the next FAA Reauthorization bill. Could you talk a little bit about the Administrators Management Advisory Committee and what their role is, what that is, how it's functioning, and how your office is planning for reauthorization?
Certainly. As you know, next year will be the reauthorization will be expiring. So then, therefore, we are working and have been working for the last several months on what that future looks like in terms of reauthorization for 2015. And Congress had created the MAC, as you referenced, to provide some guidance and some directions with respect to what it is that we should be considering in terms of what Congress should be considering in terms of the FAA and what it should look like, shape like, and certainly the critical issue that we would have is financial sustainability, making sure that those issues are addressed. And certainly from our perspective, in terms of AIP fundings and things of that nature, that the infrastructures and that we have adequate monies to address all of the needs that we have in the country in terms of capital improvement projects and infrastructure systems. So we have been working on those issues. I can't get into all the details and too many of them because those are still in deliberation and consideration within the FAA headquarters. And but certainly I'm hopeful that that we will not have the same levels of extensions or number of extensions that we've had in the past when this issue had been brought up before, that there is more of an understanding, all from the stakeholders' perspective, that it is imperative that we have no government shutdowns with respect to this element of it. It's too critical of an industry from all the stakeholders' perspective. And we look to the MAC really for their directions on what their input is. They're all different stakeholders with different perspectives who can give us some ideas on where to proceed with respect to reauthorization. But the work is being done today, and things I think early part of next year you'll start to see and hear about what are the conversations and debates that will be occurring. But I'm excited, in all honesty, Melissa, to be here for this moment. And whichever way, however way it turns out, the reality is to have a seat at the table, to be a part of the debate, to have the dialogue that I'm having. It truly is an honor for me as a person who's sort of a airport aviation, sort of buff in this area.
Well, we're happy you're here. We need you. So is there anything that's completely surprised you about this job? Coming in, your first job and at the FAA, coming to Washington, uprooting your family. And is there anything about Washington or this job that's completely taken you by surprise?
Well, I'm tried to get ready for the cold, as it'll be my first winter in Washington, D.C., coming from Los Angeles, where it seems as if it's 80 degrees every day. In terms of surprises in the job, no, I think, like I said, I didn't really have too many expectations for the job initially. I was just excited to have the job. I truly am honored to be working with the group of professionals and this administration. And I'm excited for the future and having the opportunity to sort of lay out the groundwork and the foundation for what airport and aviation industry looks like for years to come.
Well, thank you for being here. We hope this is the first of many trips to the AAAE studio.
Yes, yes. Well, I want to again thank AAAE. I've always been a part of my aviation life, certainly for all the various training that I've attended myself. I know that I've done the speaking circuit with respect to the organization, and it really is out of respect for the organization and the work that you do and Todd does and being true leaders in the aviation industry.
Well, thank you. We're excited to see more of our conferences and to work with you over the next couple of years.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today for 101. To read Eddie's complete bio and for more information from the FAA Office of Airports, please visit the website faa.gov/airports. I'm Melissa Sabatine, and we'll see you next time.